right, Massachusetts, and hello to all of those retailers of beer, wine, and spirits across the state and across the United States that listen to the weekly Beer, Wine, and Spirits show. My name is Rob Mellion. I'm the Executive Director, General Counsel to the Massachusetts Package Stores Association. We are the association that represents local retailers of beer, wine, and spirits across the state of Massachusetts. So, today we are going to talk about something that is very important to every retailer in the state. When I say retailer, I'm talking about not just beer, wine, and spirits retailers, but every retailer. And it's just something you got to deal with, whether you want to or not. And I'm talking about insurance. In particular, today's show is going to be about workers' compensation insurance, which you got to have. We're going to talk about why you got to have it in this show and what it is and how you can get it and how you can get it at a very good price with Laura Gillis, who is Director of Sales and Marketing at Cove Risk Services. I know a lot about Cove Risk Services, having worked with them for many years, even before I was with the Massachusetts Package Stores Association. And we're going to talk about what they do, the type of insurance that they oversee, and how you can get access to it with Laura. But first, I want to welcome Laura to the Beer, Wine, and Spirits show. How are you doing today, Laura?
I'm doing great. I'm honored to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming in. And coming in, folks, it's Laura's birthday.
Yay!
Yay. Yep.
I've reached half a century.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So, we have this is sometimes, I think, a tough discussion to have about insurance because while you have to have it, people don't necessarily understand why they have to have it. Sometimes they don't understand what it is that they have to have. And it's, I think, a very important topic, Laura, and I'm glad that you came in today.
Absolutely.
So maybe the best way for us to start to introduce this issue is to describe for listeners, and there's a lot of businesses that listen to this, not just beer, wine, and spirits stores. First of all, what is workers' compensation insurance?
Sure. So workers' compensation is quite simply a form of business insurance that's required. It's a requirement in the state, and it benefits both employees and employers. Employees that are injured or have an illness that comes from their working environment. So for injured employees, it's going to pay for their medical and their lost wages while they're unable to perform their job duties. For employers, it's going to pick up those lost wages that they don't have to pay, but it also saves them from costly litigation. So it's really important coverage for both the employers and the employees.
So, lots of questions. I mean, that's a good way to open up the door here. Tons of questions on this. And I bet the questions I have are probably very much similar to what a lot of business people have on workers' compensation insurance. So, first question, I guess, is you talk about broadly what it encompasses. What can I get workers' compensation insurance for? I mean, is it for I don't feel good today? I don't want to go into work. Do I get insurance money for that? Or is it for something else?
No, there has to be some sort of physical injury, something that happens, or an illness that happens that is work-related. It has to come from the work environment. So, for instance, COVID is not covered by workers' compensation unless you are an emergency responder and you are responding to patients that have COVID. So, for retailers, things like that, COVID is not a covered illness for workers' compensation. But, tripping, slipping on something, tweaking your back by picking up something heavy, those types of things are covered.
Cutting yourself?
Cutting yourself, absolutely. A restaurant, has employees that are cutting, slicing.
Broken glass.
Absolutely.
An accident, let's say an accident driving a delivery vehicle.
Yep. As long as you're driving for the business, it's during business hours. Yep. Absolutely. An accident during a delivery is going to be covered by a workers' compensation policy.
So workers' compensation insurance, obviously there's a private element to it, which is the insurance itself. It's not necessarily the state that's the insurance provider here.
Right.
How is the system administered?
So workers' compensation with all states is a requirement. And so there are state regulations that the insurance companies have to adhere to. In the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, that department that kind of oversees workers' compensation and compliance and monitors the companies is the Department of Industrial Accidents, or the DIA. So they're the outfit out there that's kind of monitoring compliance with workers' comp. And then there's another entity that's really important as well. It's the Workers' Comp Rating and Inspection Bureau of Massachusetts, or the WCRIB. We often refer to them as the CRIB. And they're the ones that are receiving data from insurance companies, setting the rates for insurance and things like that.
So who has to apply for workers' compensation insurance? You said all businesses. Is it really all businesses, or are there any exemptions to this?
It's all businesses that are required to have workers' compensation. Yes, there are some exemptions. So, for instance, members of an LLC or an LLP or a sole proprietorship, the direct owners of the business do not have to carry workers' comp on themselves. But once they hire one employee, it could be an employee that worked 2 hours a year or part-time or something like that, that employee has to be covered under a workers' compensation policy. Corporate officers of a corporation are also required to have workers' compensation coverage, but there is an exemption that they can apply for through the state in order to exclude themselves from their policy. Now, those corporate officers have to have at least 25% interest in ownership of that corporation, but then they apply, to the state to exempt themselves, and oftentimes they're able to exempt themselves as well.
All right. Now, this makes me think, and I'm sure a lot of others are thinking about this. A lot of employers, they hire part-time employees, not necessarily having any full-time people. Do they need to get workers' compensation if they have a handful of part-time employees and not just full-time employees?
Absolutely. Yeah, those part-time employees have to have coverage on them. Even if it's a family member, right, Rob? You hire your sister. Your sister's doing the accounting for the business. That person has to have coverage over them. They could get injured just as well as a non-family member.
So no games.
No games.
Insurance. I asked the question because we get asked this question all the time at our offices. Rob and I get these phone calls every day. So this is great. I don't know about you folks, but I'm already learning something here from Laura. This is really, really good. What happens to the employer that does not get workers' compensation insurance?
Oh, that's a no-no, Rob. So basically, they can be fined by the state. The Department of Industrial Accidents will issue a stop work order on their business, and they can't run their business. The fines can be exorbitant. It can be upwards of $100 per day. That's the minimum that they charge. $100 per day, including weekends and holidays, for every employee. So that can be quite a large charge if you're not doing the right thing and obtaining that policy.
And it's the Attorney General's office that's going after you, by the way.
Yeah, true. Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Well, I've seen it. So potentially state fines against the business. What about if somebody actually ends up getting injured and the store or the business doesn't have coverage?
Litigation. Yep. So they're going to be sued. There could also be criminal charges, right? So
I have seen that happen. That's why I asked the question. There was a big case several years ago down here in the southeastern region of the state. And regretfully, a worker was lost their life.
Oh, boy.
And it resulted in criminal action against the owner of the company. I saw that happen. A lot of things, a lot of bad things.
Right.
In other words, you
get that
really
policy.
need, exactly, right? You need to have workers' compensation
Give me a call.
insurance. Yes. Give Laura a call yesterday.
Right.
We're going to go to our first commercial break. When we come back, let's talk a little bit about the insurance itself, the policies that are out there, and we'll talk, too, obviously, about Cove Risk Services, too. We'll be right back after these quick messages.
Did you have an accident? We'll have your car towed and placed in rental within half an hour. Mike's Auto Body, 535 Bay Street, Fall River is the most reliable body shop to have your car repaired. We are a full-service, family-owned business providing 24-hour towing service, advocating for you, the customer. Don't let the insurance company scare you. You have the right to repair your car at the shop of your choice. It's your ride. You decide where to have your car fixed. Trust your body to Mike's Auto Body. Call 508-675-1194.
Best Ice in Swansea uses cutting-edge vending machine technology to provide you with the best ice at the best price. What makes Best Ice the best ice? This ice is made from purified water using reverse osmosis. It's bagged instantly for you on the spot. It costs about half the price than competitors. You can use a credit card, cash, or even Apple Pay. And it's crystal clear and delicious. If you're in need of a bag of ice or a lot of ice, Best Ice is the best choice, located across from Walgreens and Cumberland Farms at 495 Wilbur Avenue, Route 103 in Swansea.
Strengthening community is the YMCA's cause. Every day they work side by side with their neighbors to make sure that everyone, regardless of age, income, or background, has the opportunity to learn and grow. The Y is the nation's leading nonprofit committed to strengthening communities through youth development, healthy living, and social responsibility. YMCA South Coast mission is to improve the spiritual, mental, social, educational, and physical conditions of all persons. And for these reasons, Donald J. Medeiros is proud to announce the YMCA South Coast is March's Organization of the Month.
Donald J. Medeiros Insurance is teaming up with 1480 WSAR to highlight an organization every month. Visit WSAR.com and click on the Organization of the Month award logo for complete details. Donald J. Medeiros Insurance and 1480 WSAR want you to live better in the South Coast.
Welcome back to the Beer, Wine, and Spirits Show. So Laura Gillis is our guest today, and we are talking about workers' compensation insurance and why you got to have it. And we were just talking about it during the break, but there's probably a really good reason on top of all the other good reasons that we were just discussing prior to the break about why you have to have workers' compensation insurance, but for alcohol beverage retailers, there's an additional reason. Why is it really important to renew your policy, Laura?
Well, if they want to keep their liquor license, right? They'd want to renew that policy. And it's important to note, too, that the state can ask for proof of coverage at any time. And in fact, there's a resource online on that WCRIB website that basically will tell you whether or not a business has coverage in place or not. So it's very easy to find out if a retailer has coverage in place or not. And if they don't, they're asking for trouble.
Yeah, I just don't get it. I don't get it when people play. There are things that you can move around. There are things that you can cut short on. And then there are items that you can't.
Right.
And I hate to say it, this is one of those costs of doing business. You have to have workers' compensation insurance.
Right.
How are payments by employers made to the system?
So we have various payment programs. Our most popular is EFT, the electronic funds transfer. And so it's through your bank account. You've got a monthly bill or withdrawal that's taken out. So you can break it up into installments. The reason for that is so that it's not an exorbitant cost. You know, you can break up the installments. There's a paper bill, there's EFT. We also, what's really popular and up and coming is pay as you go, where an employer can pay their premium based on their actual reported payroll. And we can set up pay as you go through any payroll company. And that's a really neat way to do things because you're paying the actual premium based on the payrolls that you have. So during those times, during the pandemic, when businesses were closed, guess what? There was no payroll being generated, so they truly had no bills during that time.
It makes a lot of sense, too, for employers who have part-time staff.
Right.
Makes a lot of sense. How are the rate factors set for selecting what the cost for the insurance is for a business?
Yeah, good question. So you think of your employees for a particular business, and each employee is basically classified with a 4-digit class code. There's hundreds of class codes. For instance, a clerical employee is classified with an 8810 class code, and that rate is typically around 5-6 cents per 100 of payroll. And then you've got, say, store employees, liquor store employees, or retail store employees. They're going to be classified under a sales class code or a retail class code of 8017, basically. And that's about an 80-cent rate, somewhere thereabouts. Now, in our workers' comp program, which I know we'll get into later, those rates are significantly discounted. So that 80-cent rate then becomes more like a 60-cent rate. But yeah, so basically based on your employees and the classification and their payroll, that's how the premium is generated.
Are there certain classifications that are deemed high risk, therefore they're much higher?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Mostly the retailer class codes are somewhat lower. You can, we also insure a lot of truckers. We insure the healthcare industry, the manufacturing industry, and those rates can be significantly higher.
Yes, and we've seen some of this with some of the bills that have come in the past couple of years.
Right, and so those rates. So all of the insurance carriers are reporting their class codes and their premiums and their claims to the crib. And so basically all that data comes together to figure out which class codes are the higher risk class codes, which class codes are having more injuries. And it's going to be those higher hazard types of work, like the contracting class codes, for instance. Those are much higher than, say, a retail class code. And it's all based on the claims data that's reported.
There you go. There you go. So who is Cove Risk Services?
Cove Risk Services. So we are a third-party administrator. We are not an insurance company. We're a third-party administrator that provides benefits to self-insured workers' compensation groups. And so we provide similar things to what an insurance company is going to provide. So we're doing the underwriting for these self-insured groups. We're doing the billing. We're doing the loss control or the risk management, the safety consulting services, and we're doing all the policy services as well.
How long has Cove Risk been involved with helping employers, deal with their insurance needs?
We've had a couple of names. We were called First Cardinal for a while, and then we transferred to the Cove Risk name. But we've been doing this for over 30 years. And we are based out of Braintree, Massachusetts. We're a local business and independently owned.
That's nice to hear. So you're not one of these big national companies that are in like 19 states.
Right.
That's nice to hear. So one of the products that you, I assume, work with is this Massachusetts Retail Merchants Workers' Compensation Group.
Right.
So what exactly is that?
So that is, I mentioned self-insurance, and I'll bet a lot of retailers out there don't know what a self-insured group is. They don't even know that that's an opportunity for them. But what the Massachusetts Retail Merchants Workers' Compensation Group is it's a self-insured workers' compensation group. It's not an insurance company. And when you join...
So it's not Geico.
Nope. And do I look like a gecko or an emu or anything like that? No. So we are real people in the state of Massachusetts, and we're providing this benefit to self-insured groups in the state. And the opportunity of self-insurance is a really neat one. It was basically created out of, you think about those big box stores and the Fortune 500 companies. They decided that they didn't want to buy traditional insurance, and they're able to basically fund their claims themselves because they have the financial capacity. So they don't buy traditional insurance. They basically pay their own claims. and they do their own safety consulting. So how the states were able to take those regulations that were in place for those big conglomerates and create that same benefit of self-insurance for the smaller retailers was by allowing these self-insured groups to come into play. And so this Massachusetts Retail Merchants Workers' Compensation Group has been in existence for over 30 years now, and we are the largest self-insured group in the state of Mass.
So when you say you're the largest self-insured group, who's the group? I mean, so is this a bunch of, what you're saying then is small businesses, retail businesses, and other types of businesses have gotten together to formulate a group to manage workers' compensation insurance for themselves? Is that essentially what we're saying here?
Absolutely. We have over 4,000 member businesses that are a part of this program. And this program is sponsored by two professional associations, one of which is the Massachusetts Package Store Association. And so your members can benefit by receiving, entering into this workers' compensation group.
So, and the other one obviously is the Retail Association of Massachusetts. So we're talking about essentially two associations representing over 4,000 businesses that have pooled their resources together to work with Cove Risk and create a group to self-insure and provide, really great pricing insurance for their members.
Right. So how does a 30% savings on your workers' comp sound?
Sounds very good.
So that's in general, that's what we've been able to provide these members. So what these members of the group do is they pool their workers' compensation premiums, and we manage that pool of money. We have the claims adjusters that settle those claims. We take the money that is left over, we invest that money, similar to what an insurance company does. So there's investment money at stake here. And basically we're able to, at the end of the policy year, we determine whether or not there's been a surplus or an underwriting profit. And all 31 years that we've been in business, there's been an underwriting profit. And guess what? That underwriting profit is returned to the members of the group. So it's basically a
co-op. It's kind of like a co-op.
Exactly. It's a not-for-profit insurance company, right? So
run by small businesses.
Exactly. We have a small business board of directors, and so the small businesses all have a voice on our board of directors for the
group. Let's talk about that. How is this group managed? We'll answer this question, Laura, and then we'll go to a break here. So how is this thing managed? How is this group ensured to actually do what it's supposed to do?
Yeah, so there's a board of directors that oversees the group and oversees everything that Cove Risk does. We provide all the benefits to the group. So Cove Risk behind the scenes is, we're issuing the policies, we're doing all the endorsements, we're billing, we're settling the claims, we're doing the audits and things like that. So we're the ones that are making all the things, all the wheels turn and everything happen. Mm-hmm. But we are managed by a board of directors.
Who are small business people across the state.
Absolutely.
Very good. Let's go to break. And when we come back, let's actually talk about the insurance that has been discussed through this hour so far. Let's talk about how you get it. Let's talk about what it actually is and how you apply for it. How's that sound? We'll do that right after this quick break.
Hey, this is Bill King of the WSAI Cruising with Bill show.
Tune in to Cruisin' with Bill, Tuesdays from 2 to 3 on WSAR. Join Bill King from Cruise Holidays at the Port to hear everything you want to know about cruising. Cruisin' with Bill, Tuesdays from 2 to 3 on your only local news radio, FM 95.9, AM 1480, WSAR.
Need to get to Logan or TF Green Airport and don't want to pay to park? Or how about dinner and drinks on Federal Hill? Don't drink and drive. Call Town Taxi. Sit back and relax in one of Town Taxi's clean late model vehicles while your Corey check driver handles the traffic for you. Whether it's around town, out of town, uptown, or downtown, Town Taxi is the safe, reliable, and affordable way to go. Town Taxi. Call them today, 508-673-9999.
Hey, good morning, Jeff. Hey, did you see your shadow last week?
No, Manny, I haven't seen my shadow in about 15 years. Why? We're going to get 6 more weeks of super savings at Prestige?
We don't need a hog shadow to give 6 weeks of savings. At Prestige, you get savings all year long, Jeff.
Well, 6 weeks brings us to St. Patrick's Day at least.
Forget about that, Jeff. For you, every day is St. Patrick's Day. We got to worry about President's Month.
Don't worry, Manny. I've got it all figured out. We have over 1,000 new and pre-owned vehicles, interest rate starting at 2.9 APR, 0 down payment, and guaranteed credit or the car is free. But don't wait, because the best selection is now.
And even if you are waiting on your tax return to buy your next vehicle, don't worry. We'll give you an advance on it and double it up to $500. And you can drive home today.
And unlike the competition, when we say guaranteed credit approval, we mean it, because we own the finance company. Prestige Automat, Westport, East Providence, Taunton, or prestigeautomat.net.
2.9 for A-plus credit. Guaranteed credit approval with 30% down.
All right, welcome back to the Beer, Wine, and Spirits show. So today's show is about workers' compensation insurance with Laura Gillis. And before the break, we were really getting into the Cove Risk Services group and about the Massachusetts Retail Merchants Workers' Compensation Group, which is a product that they offer to businesses all across the state that is managed by small businesses as well. And Laura, just going right into this, I have to ask the question, what types of businesses are eligible to purchase this workers' compensation policy?
Sure. So the group is approved for specific business types and specific class codes. I spoke about those 4-digit class codes earlier. So if the business meets those class codes, and some of them, the various acceptable businesses are things like liquor stores, grocery stores, gas and convenience stores, a lot of the retail class codes, restaurants, breweries, florists, hardware stores. We also do some service class codes, which is the auto services. We will write some auto body. Auto dealers that do auto service, we write those as well. And then new in 2020, we started writing the cannabis businesses.
I was going to ask about that.
Right.
Because there's a whole bunch of dispensaries all through southeastern Massachusetts.
Absolutely. And they have the retail class code. And so that we were able to enter those into our group as well. But there's so many class codes. There's, over 100 different class codes that are eligible for this program.
So you said, so restaurants, obviously, obviously, I wouldn't be talking about it if it wasn't something for beer, wine, and spirits retailers. So anybody, I think, selling retail for the most part, right?
Right.
So clothes store, shoe store, toy store.
Absolutely. Right. It's right up our alley.
Automotive parts store.
Mm-hmm.
A small market that sells, like a family market that sells food, but also would sell wine,
right?
For example,
right.
So really, if you're selling, you probably should be looking to see if this is your insurance policy, because let's hit this one again. What is the big benefit to this particular product?
Right. So the biggest benefit for business owners and what they listen to the most is the upfront savings. So we've got a very competitive deviation. Upfront, we give all of our members 15% off on their rates. In addition to that, as a self-insured group, we have lesser fees than the standard insurance companies. We don't have to charge an expense constant. And we also charge a lesser assessment. It's called a DIA assessment, Department of Industrial Accidents assessment. So our upfront savings is close to 20% that we give off on the premium. And then on the back end, we still have those dividends that are payable in addition to the upfront savings. Those dividends traditionally over the past 31 years have been about 15%. So you're talking about, 30% and over that you can be saving on your workers' compensation premium.
And those dividends, which I see every year, they're substantial.
They are. They are.
We talk about it. It more than pays for your membership. If you're a small store, it more than pays for your membership with the Massachusetts Package Stores Association.
Absolutely.
It's real sizable, impressive.
Yep, and we just the dividend for mass retail is just being issued now.
I know.
Right. So those checks
are the time of year where Robin and I are like Santa Claus. We love it. It's the good time of the year.
Right.
Yes. So I'm curious too, for those who think that they're getting, I know that there's a incentive out there for bundling. I know that there are businesses that, they're putting it all together, or they're having their insurance provider put it all together there. What recommendations do you have for insurers to be telling or to be offering to their clients, and why is this product not in competition with them?
Yeah, so this product is definitely in competition with those ones. And yes, it can be very beneficial to bundle your insurance, put them with one carrier. But for workers' compensation, what we provide for the upfront pricing and the discounts, we provide that to every single member. What you find with the insurance companies is they offer higher discounts if your premium is higher. So if you're $25,000 in premium, they'll give you a higher discount. For those smaller businesses, they're not receiving those discounts like we can provide.
And what is the process for a business to actually be able to communicate? I asked this question because prior to the show today, I had to deal with one of those national companies, and 2 hours on hold, and then it was I finally was being transferred to somebody, and I got hung up on.
Yep.
I then had to call back. Another 30 minutes on hold.
Right. And you got a different person.
I got a whole different person. And I then was, get this one, not making it up, transferred over, and the call got dumped again.
Oh, geez.
Oh, do you see the gray hairs? I didn't have so many this morning as I started the day.
I believe it.
So how are things run at Cove Risk?
Yeah, so we're a local company, right? So we've got 30 employees over in Braintree. We have an 800 number you can call in. Let me back up, too. We only write our policies through independent agents. So we have over 300 appointed independent agents that work with our programs. But I will say that there's probably a lot of independent agents that don't know about our programs yet. So you, the business owner, can ask your independent agent to look into this program. I'm happy to talk. I talk to agents all day long, and I inform them about our programs. I teach them how to sell our programs. I teach them about the benefits of self-insurance.
What's the benefit for them to be selling this program to their clients?
Well, same as the traditional insurance companies, they pay a commission to the agents to sell the program. So that's the benefit, but also because it's such a great benefit for their insureds, to save them additional money, to be the hero basically, and bring them this self-insured group that has 4,000 members. But truly, Rob, you and I know we should have 10,000 members.
I know. I'm with you. It baffles me when somebody doesn't have this coverage, because who doesn't want to save 30%?
Right.
I mean, I think one of the biggest problems, Laura, is that it sounds too good to be true.
I think that's it too. And people don't know about self-insurance. So that's what I'm trying to do, is really educate people. These programs, we're not the only self-insured group. There's 20 some odd self-insured groups in Massachusetts, and they've all performed very well. Our group is the largest in numbers. And like I said, we've had over 31 years of returning dividends back to members. So that says something.
That's the big thing too. So you're saving money up front, and you're getting a dividend, and there has been a dividend pretty much every year.
Right, every year.
It's not like we're saying, hey, you're going to get a dividend, and we're using it as a little carrot.
Right.
It's there.
Right. So how many times do you receive a check back from your insurance company? Hey, we made too much profit this year. We're going to give you some back.
Yeah. Not unless it's been mandated by the state, which happened during COVID.
Right.
It's about the only time I've ever seen it. So why do you think that, this is like a no-brainer. I'm going to throw you the softball here.
Okay.
Why do you think that 90% of the MassPack membership does this insurance program?
Because it's such a great deal for them, and it's those upfront savings, but also we haven't really even touched on the other things that we do for our members and customer service. You're not going to sit on hold. You're not going to be dropped.
That's what I was getting to.
We're very responsive. You're going to get a human being. You're not a number with us, so, and we also have safety services. We have our own team of safety consultants that work with our members. And so if they're starting to have claims problems, our safety guys are reaching out to them to say, hey, what kind of resources can we provide to you? We also have online resources that insureds can tap into.
Yeah, and I want to talk about that when we come back from break.
Okay.
Because I think that's, too, what I really love about this particular group is that you're not just throwing money at something that you have to do. You're provided tools to reduce your risk. Mm-hmm. I really love that, and I want to talk about that because, come on, at our little meetings, we spend a whole segment of time here talking about, this particular issue, and I think it's really worth discussing when we come back from these messages about how businesses are provided tools to reduce that level of risk.
Reduced claims means more dividends.
That's right. So let's talk about that when we come back. We're going to go to message right now.
Hiring heating up. Indeed's hiring platform makes it easy to attract, screen, and interview candidates all in one place. Sponsor a post and instantly receive a short list of quality candidates on Indeed whose resumes match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
If you're like most Americans, you're pretty much in disbelief with what's going on in the world. As we all know, global problems are having local consequences. Too many of them. And if the peanut butter really hits the fan, are you ready? Grocery store supply chains are only as strong as their weakest link. Don't wait for them to break. Now's the time to secure emergency food for everyone in your family. My Patriot Supply is America's largest preparedness company. Our specially packaged and delicious food stays fresh for up to 25 years in storage. It'll be there when you need it. Go to mypatriotsupply.com and pick up several emergency food kits. There are a dozen different sizes that average over 2,000 calories per day. Our food kits will ship quickly and discreetly to your door. Having food storage in your home beats government food lines hands down. Go to mypatriotsupply.com today and prepare for what's coming. mypatriotsupply.com. Now, another Education Spotlight Minute on WSAR. Brought to you by Bay Coast Bank and One South Coast Chamber.
We have a special guest joining us via phone lines, and that is Dr. Laura Douglas, the president at Bristol Community College. Tell me a little bit about early college and what is it for those who might not be aware of the offering that we have in this area.
So in early college, we're looking to help students launch a career on a very defined lockstep pathway. So maybe the career focus is health sciences. Maybe it is some other type of STEM like information technology. Maybe it's business and finance, entrepreneurship. It could be a number of different pathways. So what we do is we set up a relationship with a local high school. We create the pathway, and when students graduate from high school, they may have as much as 30 credits, which is one full year of college before they go on to Bristol Community College and finish an associate degree.
Don't miss the Education Spotlight, Friday afternoons at 3:05 on FM 95.9 and AM 1480 WSAR. Presented by Bay Coast Bank. Just right banking since 1851 and One South Coast Chamber.
Sitting on a million, sitting on it every day. Can't make no money giving you.
All right, welcome back to the Beer, Wine, and Spirit Show. I tell guests it goes by so fast, and it really does. This has been a really fast discussion with you, Laura, and it's been educational. We're talking about workers' compensation insurance, not something that you would be thinking that we'd be talking about on the Beer, Wine, and Spirit Show, but for the fact that if you don't have this insurance, you're not getting your license next year. Kind of an important thing to have. Not having this license or not having this insurance triggers, your inability to renew the license. It's just state requirements, not our thing. It's just the way it is with the state. So, Laura, how does a business apply for workers' compensation insurance through the Massachusetts Retail Merchants Workers' Compensation Group?
Sure. So as I said before, Rob, we work through independent agents in the state. They are the best advocates for businesses, and we partner with them and we appoint them to sell our program. So what the business owner can do is reach out to their agent and say, hey, I'm interested in this self-insured group. What can you tell me about it? If that agent is not already appointed, then they can reach out to me. And it's very easy to get them appointed. And like I said, I do training for agents to inform them of what the program's all about. Business owners can also reach out to us directly if they don't have an agent, and we'll appoint them an agent. We'll refer them to a couple of different agents in their area. So insureds can go onto our website, which is www.coverisk.com. And on that website, there's a tab for Get a Quote. And so they fill out just a couple of information pieces, their name and contact information. An email goes to our internal team, and one of us will reach out to them. And so we can either coordinate through the business owner to reach their current agent, or we can assign them a new agent.
So obviously, people who are in the business of selling insurance need to know about this particular product, and they probably already do to a certain extent. But is this something that a business can actually say to their insurer, their who does their casualty and does everything else? Hey, you're doing my workers' compensation insurance too. Can you make sure that I'm getting the best savings possible? I hear that there's this program, the Mass Retail Merchants Workers' Compensation Group. Can you make sure I'm getting that policy?
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think it helps. So agents have so many different options for workers' compensation. Yeah. And, they've got probably 100 different companies that they can quote with. Sometimes we're not on the top 3 just because maybe the general liability or the auto or something is written with a different carrier. Well, you can break off the workers' compensation, and if it's going to give you extreme savings, like 30%, why wouldn't you do that?
And a dividend check.
And a dividend check, right.
I mean, that's the part. It's just, to me, like I said, it's a no-brainer. Like I said, over 90% of our members to the association are participants. There's got to be a reason for that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
These are some of your best business people in the state, and they're members of this group. And I would be willing to make a bet that to the Retail Association of Massachusetts, it's probably about the same number, about 90% or
It
more
is, right.
Of their association are members of this group too.
Mm-hmm.
So there's got to be a good reason why they're doing that.
Right. And there's other various benefits that are offered by the associations, right? You've got so many other programs and discounts for your members.
Yeah, but this one's critical. I mean, this one, does a real great thing. And like I said, just the dividend check itself more than pays for the membership. But, one of the things that I really love about the workers' compensation group, Laura, we talked about this just before the break here. You sort of introduced the issue. But I think it's really important. When you're buying that generic insurance, you're just buying a policy. But I find that when a business is partnered with Cove Risk is a partner. And one of the things that Cove Risk does, and I've seen this, is they provide the companies that are getting their insurance through them with lots of tools, knowledge. I know this because our association is putting out a lot of that information to our members.
Mm-hmm.
How to prevent slip and falls, how to reduce your risk. Can you talk a little bit about that? How can a business through Cove Risk actually reduce its risk?
Right, right. So as I said before, our Cove Risk, we employ safety service consultants. And so those individuals will interact with our members directly. They'll give them information and procedures to put in place to reduce the exposures, the work exposures for businesses.
And aren't there something, in a sense, you're able to do audits on exposure, right?
Right. So they're risk assessments, and so we'll go out, and these guys are so down to earth. They're out there to help the member. They're not out to create a laundry list of things that the business owner has to do. They're out to give solutions to the member.
They're out to prevent litigation.
Yeah, absolutely. They're out to reduce the claims, which will benefit the group substantially by increasing dividends.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you, as an attorney, no business wants litigation if they can avoid it.
Right.
And that's one of the things I really love about Cove Risk is that you're providing a mechanism for small businesses across the state to avoid costly litigation. It's crippling to a business.
Right. So, our safety people will consult businesses over warehouse safety, ergonomics, driver safety, slip and fall safety, proper lifting techniques. We also have a resource online that insureds can tap into to get procedures, checklists, on various topics of interest regarding safety. They can rent videos, and we pay for the rental. They can have all sorts of employee meetings. They can attend employee meetings about safety to instill a proper, safety conscious attitude at the business.
So let's talk about the bad stuff. We only have a few minutes here left, but let's talk about the bad stuff. Somebody is picking up a box, disc slips in their back. What happens? What does the employer have to do?
Yeah, so they would report a claim. And for us, it's easy. You go online, www.coverisk.com, and you enter the claim. It's a first report of injury form, and they bring you through each page to just report that information. Then you hit submit. It goes to one of our claims adjusters who sets up the claim on our side. It also sends an email copy of the claim to the insured who just submitted the report, and it sends that copy directly to the state, which is a state requirement that the state has to receive that copy as well. And then our adjusters reach out and they talk to the claimant, they talk to the business owner, and they find out more about the claim.
And what does the business end up? Does the business now have to go get lawyers and stuff like that, or what happens here?
No, absolutely. So a part of the policy is that we would represent them if it did get to the point where there's litigation. But the vast majority of them are not litigated.
Yeah, they're settled.
Right, they're settled. We pay the medical for the employee. We pay for their lost wages, things like that. And
what's done to prevent fraud? Because that never happens.
Yeah. So we rely on our business owners. We have quite frank conversations with them. If they are suspicious about the claim that's been reported, then they speak to our claims adjusters. And in an instant, we can have a private investigator go out and make sure that this is legitimate. We can do some more research on the employee that was injured. A lot of times you can find out if they've had past injuries that are similar to this. So
it's not, there's a claim, and then your rate goes up.
Yeah, no, it's not. We're not just writing checks out, and we're going to investigate and make sure it was a legitimate claim.
That's good to know too. And then just how is this stuff renewed every year?
It's an automatic renewal, honestly. So the renewals will go out to the agents because, like I said, we work this policy through agents. We also send a copy of the policy to the insureds, and it's a pretty easy thing.
So you don't have to really think about this stuff once you're in.
You set it and you forget it, right? So it auto renews. The one thing that we'll do for checks and balances is there might be an audit at the end of the year, right. Just to make sure that the payrolls that are being reported are appropriate. Of course, if you're set up on pay-as-you-go, you don't have an audit because you've already been, paying your premium based on the payrolls that you've dispersed to your employees.
Wow, this has been really good.
Yeah.
This has been a very good hour. So believe it or not, we're there. What final words do you have, Laura, about why somebody should be taking advantage of this workers' compensation insurance program?
Well, Rob, I might not be as cute as an emu or a gecko, but really give self-insurance a try. There are so many different programs out there. Like I said, the retailers and service industry are eligible for this workers' compensation self-insured program. But talk to your agent and get a quote because 30% savings is nothing to sneeze at.
And that's exactly where we're going to end this show. Laura, fantastic. Thank you so much for coming in. Thank you to everybody who's been listening to the Beer, Wine, and Spirit Show. We'll catch you next week with another episode. And until then, please shop at your local retailer of beer, wine, and spirits.